I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief brought to you by Lay of the Land. And before we head off into the weekend for a well-deserved break, let's take a look at those top stories. And we begin again with the situation in the south of Israel. There is a third day of high alert currently in place, and roads around the Gaza Strip do still remain closed. Now, earlier today, IDF Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi toured the area and has ordered increased preparedness. There is a presence of tanks and artillery units on the ground, and reported that IDF planes as well as armed drones have been patrolling the airspace. Now, this comes in response to the arrest several nights ago of Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader during counter-terror operations in Jenin in the West Bank. A senior Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader has said that they will not necessarily just strike outside of Gaza, but they will strike deeper into Israel, possibly central Israel. At the moment, it does remain calm but tense. Residents in the peripheral areas have been ordered to stay in their homes or close to their shelters. Now, continuing to give us lactose intolerance or acid reflux is Ben & Jerry's. We are all familiar with the decision taken by the manufacturers of overpriced ice cream in the United States to stop selling their product in Israel to those who live in the West Bank or in East Jerusalem. Now, Ben & Jerry's are currently engaged in a legal dispute with their holding company, Unilever, who interfered in this, saying that they retain the operational rights to do so, and entered into agreement whereby they sold the Israeli manufacturer to Avi Zinger. Now, Ben & Jerry's are objecting to this, and while the two parties have tried to settle out of court, they haven't been able to reach that settlement. Ben & Jerry's independent board have accused Unilever of not paying or freezing the salaries for their board of directors during the month of July to apply pressure. Now, a new hearing will continue for the two parties on the 8th of August. Unilever CEO Alan Juppé said that Ben & Jerry's should actually stay out of geopolitics and focus on more local social justice and what they actually should be doing, which is manufacturing ice cream. Incidentally, Israel seems to be the only country that Ben & Jerry's seem to target with these kinds of campaigns. Well, I don't know what goes best or what flavor goes best with hypocrisy, but I do know I really miss a time when my ice cream did not have a political opinion. Now, we have been covering the international fallout over the anti-Semitic comments made by UNHRC Commission of Inquiry investigator Milun Kotari. Well, the latest countries to add their voices to the growing condemnation are Guatemala, Brazil, Sweden and Switzerland. Very important that the condemnation has now moved off the European continent and into South and Central America, and that notoriously neutral Switzerland have added their voice. Meanwhile, who has been silent? Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and other so-called human rights activists and organizations who purport to be against anything racist. However, in an obscene stroke of hypocrisy earlier today, Amnesty International took aim at Ukraine, accusing Ukraine of committing human rights atrocities against Russian troops and placing Russian civilians, don't see where any Russian civilians are entering Ukraine, in harm's way. I guess Amnesty International, in an indirect way, are showing us exactly who funds them, and conveniently have steered clear of condemning Russia's illegal invasion into Ukrainian sovereign territory, as well as commenting on the massacres at Bucha, the bombing of a maternity ward, the bombing of a shopping mall, the bombing earlier today of a bus stop that killed 8 civilians. You can see where I'm going with this kind of trend. Epic hypocrisy. It may just be that Amnesty International enjoy a good big dish of Ben & Jerry's every once in a while. And you know, we like to end our broadcast with a positive story, and maybe I'll put my soapbox away for the meantime. But several weeks ago, when US President Biden visited Israel on his official visit, he made an announcement that Saudi Arabia had agreed to open their airspace to all Israel-based and all Israel-destined air traffic. Well, this morning, the first plane making use of that declaration, because the airspace was officially opened yesterday, was Cathay Pacific, with a flight from Hong Kong. Now, of course, the benefits to this aren't just that many are watching Saudi Arabia to see whether or not the Gulf state will make moves towards normalization, but for those traveling from or to Israel, to the Far East, or to places like New Zealand or Australia, the open airspace cuts down travel time, it cuts down fuel costs, and possibly will even benefit your back pocket if you are booking a trip there. And rumor has it, could Oman, another Gulf-based country, be next? Well, we wait very, very patiently to see what is happening. So that brings us to the end of today's top stories. Don't forget to check in with us on our website at www.layoftheland.online. If you missed this week's editions of the Israel Brief, we've got them all up on there, as well as all our archived material. We are also on Facebook at Lotel Site. You guys know what to do. Like, share, follow. We are also on YouTube, and would love it if you click that red subscribe button. And that helps us get news from Israel that you're not seeing in the mainstream media out to as many people as possible. Help us expose hypocrisy wherever it rears its ugly head. And of course, we're on Twitter. Our handle is at Lay of the Land 5. Show us some love by clicking on the follow button there. So from all of us to all of you, we want to wish you a very, very safe, peaceful and healthy weekend. Shabbat Shalom wherever in the world you are. And don't forget to join me next week, Monday to Thursday, right here on the Israel Brief, as I bring you those top stories. I'm Rolene Marks, signing out, wishing you Shabbat Shalom.